When I was little, I told my sister, I was like, why do you have fat on the sides of your hips? And she's like, those are love handles and you're going to get them one day. And I was like, she was correct. She was right.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Doing Everything with Anna and Sally. This is Anna.
And this is Sally.
And Sally is going to introduce our super awesome guest that we have this week. This is our first guest, and we're really excited to have her on the show.
Catherine landed a job with one of the largest TV network companies in the U.S. after college. She is one of the nicest people you will meet and is incredibly talented, both technically and artistically, in multiple different media, including but not limited to photography, editing, and music. And she will tell you a lot more about herself throughout the rest of this podcast.
So yay, everyone say welcome to Catherine. Catherine, say hi.
Hello. What up, what up? No, I'm just kidding. Say hello.
Hey, so before we jump into grilling Catherine, just kidding, we're just going to ask her questions. I thought we should do a little mental health check-in because we have all been experiencing COVID now for coming up on, I don't know, like
2 months?
I was going to say we're rounding up, like we're getting close to 2 months.
Working from home still, as you do when there's a pandemic.
I'm very fortunate in that I can also work from home, and I've been enjoying the outdoors a lot because I'm back home and we have a really nice yard. So I've been going out on a picnic blanket and doing my work for a majority of the day. So it's been pretty nice actually, away from the city.
Well, cool. I had virtual book club this week, so that was fun.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, we read Educated by Tara Westover. Have you guys read that?
I have not.
It is crazy. I'm kind of late to like jump on the train of reading it because I think it came out in 2018, but it's about a woman who grew up Mormon. Basically, she went from never receiving a K-12 education to ending up with a PhD.
Wow. I have never met more Mormons in my life than I have in DC.
Really?
Fun fact. Yes, I have learned all about the Mormon culture and it's insane. Not insane like the beliefs, but because everybody's entitled to their own beliefs. But it's weird that I've met so many in DC, like just randomly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just so happen, like once you get to talk and know people, they just kind of casually mention it and you're just like, that's very cool. And then I've learned a lot about it too, since, I didn't have any prior knowledge about Mormonism, really. I've never met a Mormon my whole life. I just knew they typically had a lot of kids, which is similar to my family. So people often thought I was Mormon.
Really?
So fun fact, I have 7 siblings. And so the first questions people normally ask me are whether I'm Catholic or if I'm Mormon. I feel like, I have a connection. Not really.
Like Sally mentioned, you've got an awesome job and you're a cool person and we want to learn more about that. So we were wondering, and I don't think I know the answer to this. Sally might know the answer. Side note, Sally introduced me to Catherine, which is super awesome. But Catherine and I grew up in the same area and just never met. So that was kind of a fun, weird fact. But the question is, what did you study in college and how does it relate to what you do now?
In college, I studied 3 different subjects. I studied biology, I studied communication media, and I studied music. And so right now I work in a job where I'm utilizing my media skills and my science skills as well. So it's been nice because I've had this kind of circle of everything kind of coming together in a way that I really didn't expect.
Just so our listeners can understand, like, what is your role and what do you do in your role?
So I'm a production assistant, and as a production assistant, I mostly at the moment am supporting 2 different producer teams that I work with. And these producer teams are the producers for different shows and films that are shown on the network that I work for. My role within these teams is to be the support. So I do paperwork that they need. I might be researching details about things that they need. I also, am available if they need me to reach out to somebody to get information that they need. It's kind of just more of a support role and more of less creative, more as a helpful addition to the team, just since I'm entry level.
And what sort of like extracurriculars and jobs or internships did you do in college that would you say like helped you get to where you are now?
So I would say when I was in college, for the first 3 years of my time in college, I had 3 or more jobs at all times. So I worked in the rec center as a photographer. I worked with the student union as their concerts entertainment chair. I kind of just offered to help a lot of different spaces because I felt like different jobs always offer you different skills and different abilities that you can later use down the line. So everything I'm a very big picture person. And so everything I've done, I've been able to utilize different skills that I've gained from each experience. And that's kind of how I look at my whole time in college / everywhere I've worked since then.
What was your, I guess, craziest or like most impressive job that you did in college? I was thinking about like, didn't you go to the Grammys?
Oh yeah, I did.
I think that's like a big thing to forget. What?
Well, it was an internship, so I was not paid. I actually flew out to California and I interned with the audio teams that do the music for the Grammys, and they help coordinate the live shows that are put on for the Grammys. So I went down there and I actually didn't get paid, but it was more about the experience for me and seeing what the audio people do, because I actually have experience in audio work. And so I wanted to know if that was something I was further interested in pursuing. It really was the intro into my ability to get where I am now, because it really opened my eyes to see that anything's really possible if you're really willing to work for it, and if you're really willing to just kind of try, honestly. Just put yourself out there. And that's kind of how I was able to get the internship in the first place.
How did you get that internship? Did you have some sort of connection or?
So weirdly enough, this is actually a super weird connection because my family has a lake house in Michigan, and our neighbor, they have a huge family as well. And our families have lived next to each other for generations. And so they have this one uncle that's like Hollywood Bob, who's never there when we were there, and we just heard about him, really. But in 2015, I had just lost a job working at a bouquet place that did like bouquets for weddings. And so I had free time, and my family goes to the lake every year. And so I went with my family. And so when I was there, it just so happened he was also at the lake house. And my dad just so happened to mention that he works in the music industry. And immediately my brain goes, oh my God, I want to work in the music industry. Why has he never told me this? And he's here. Why don't I go meet him? So I kind of walked over there and was like, hi, I'm Catherine, and I live next door. Who are you? I've never seen you before. And I didn't make it super awkward, which that sounded really awkward when I just said, but I went about it very casually because honestly, I just wanted to know about what he did. And he's an audio mixer for different musicians. So he goes to different concerts around the world and mixes the music for the musicians. I think he just mentioned, like right when I was leaving, yeah, let me know if you're in the area sometime. Maybe I can let you come to a concert. And I was like, absolutely, I'm there anytime you want me to come. Because that was the only contact I knew of anybody who worked in the music industry. And I wanted to work in the arts, but I also wanted to make a living in the arts. And so I knew I had to be really proactive about it, even as a sophomore, which I went to the Grammys as a sophomore.
That is insane. Can we just back up that you ended up at the Grammys as a sophomore in college because of Hollywood Bob and your connection?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, is I never went about it really wanting to make a connection. It was really just more organic than that, in the sense that, I really wanted to know what he did, and I was just more curious to get to know him rather than what he could get me, what he could do for me.
the best outcomes I have had are kind of like that with people you are just genuinely interested in. You're like, because it sounds like he has an amazing life, and you're like, holy cow, I just want to learn more about that. And I think that like genuine interest shows. So cool. Kudos to you, Catherine. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, well, so the story continues where basically I kept wanting to meet up with him because this was a big opportunity for me. And I was like, I mean, I would love to see a cool concert and go behind stage. Who wouldn't want to do that? And it just so happened that the next thing coming up was the Grammys. He reached out to some people at the Grammys, and I was given their information, and I kind of jump-started an email and was like, hi, my name is Catherine, and this guy said that potentially you could use some help in this area. And so it just kind of progressed from there, where I was in the cafeteria one day and I get this like call from somebody at the Grammys who's like, hi, if you're able to come down here, sure, you can intern with us for the week. So I paid like $500 to go fly all of a sudden to Los Angeles for the Grammys. I knew that for me, it would be worth it because opportunities like that don't happen all the time.
Yeah.
And so I kind of had more of this attitude of, yes, I kind of look at my whole career as gaining skills and as gaining, just gaining the skills to be able to continue learning and growing, because that's what's most important to me. It's not about how much money I make or what I'm able to do. It's more about, I want to have these stories and these things that I'm able to talk to when I'm older.
That's awesome. And I think that's a great way to be going throughout your career, because if you're not enjoying it, then kind of what's the point? Like, if you're not enjoying it, it shows, and you're not going to get to where you want to be. So just going off of getting to your actual job now, how did you get this position in particular?
So I was able to get this position in particular because I continually kept reaching out to people. I did a lot of cold emails, a lot of cold calls. And again, I went into it just wanting to get to know people. I didn't go into it looking for a job. I got into it knowing that these people might not be able to offer me a job, but their experience is valuable and I can use their experience to learn from. So when I got this job, it was because I reached out to somebody that I had not met, actually. She knew somebody else that I had worked with at an internship in Raleigh at one of the few places that does network editing and producing. They do a lot of TLC shows. So she was super kind. And, I tried to get to know during that internship a lot of different people that I worked with, because again, I have no idea what I'm doing in my life and I'm kind of just making up this path. So I wanted to know what people do and how they got to where they are. I always like to try and get to know people on a deeper level rather than just, hi, I'm Catherine. Can you get me this job? What do you like that? And so with this woman, she is young and she works at the company I work at, and she offered to let me get coffee with her in DC, and I was in Raleigh at the time, and I was working at a restaurant and looking for something more permanent. And so she let me drive up 4 different occasions, and I drove literally to get coffee with her and drive back home. I mean, I want her to know who I am, and I would love for her to introduce me to how she got here from this old internship that we both had.
So you weren't immediately out of college working at this job?
No, I was a whole year after college that I landed this job. I didn't even get a job in my first 6 months after college because I was trying to apply to different places. And then I kind of found the value of just getting one of those jobs that's more of like a filler job, because even those you can learn something. I had never worked in a restaurant, never had that kind of experience, and weirdly I kind of thought it would be I don't know, you see these like TV shows and stuff where the waitress, she like meets a boy and blah blah blah, and I was like, that could be super fun. I don't know. And so I wanted to see what it was like, if restaurants really were kind of fun environments. And it was fun. I was looking around. I wasn't immediately looking, actually. I was happy at my job in the restaurant, but it just so happened that the woman I had gone to visit 4 times for coffee, she placed my resume on the senior director's desk because she knew I was looking for work, and I developed that relationship with her. She was willing to put my name out there and to help me out in order to get that position.
Are you still in contact with this person? Like, do you guys still have a relationship?
Yes, I consider her a friend and a mentor. She was very kind. She's from North Carolina as well, and she knew that North Carolina doesn't necessarily have a lot of outlets for the kind of work that we want to do. She was kind and willing to look at what I had to offer and really be like, yeah, you'd be perfect for this. Why not? I'd be happy to put your name out there.
Yeah, I bet coming from North Carolina as well, she did have kind of this sense of what the job culture and job availability was here and was able to kind of vouch for you. So that's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about moving out of your home state. So just quick answer, you've lived in North Carolina your whole life? Question mark?
Yes, I've lived in North Carolina my whole life, and I actually only lived in Asheville and Raleigh my whole life up until I moved to DC.
So it sounds like the job kind of made you decide to move out of North Carolina. Did anything else motivate you? Like, what made you decide to make the move?
Honestly, I got the job, quit my job, and moved and started my new job within 3 weeks.
Wow.
I mean, it was for such a major company that I didn't want to say no. I mean, I knew that this was like an opportunity that I could not say no to. So originally I was planning on looking elsewhere, but I actually had planned on moving abroad. I was really interested in trying to grow and learn about different cultures in that way. Luckily now in my job, I'm able to learn about different cultures and the environment and all those different things. But I think originally that was kind of what I planned, also because everybody tells you while you're young to try and move abroad if you're going to do it. So I kind of felt a little pressure to try and do it then. But once I got offered this job, I felt like it was too good to pass up.
But technically, you have already lived abroad, right?
Yes, so I studied abroad in college. I studied in Copenhagen, Denmark, and it was awesome. So for me, you kind of have this identity in a city, and I like to think personally that in every place you move, it's like different parts of yourself flourish and grow. I had never moved to a city where I knew one person, especially out of school. When I went to Denmark, it was different because I had classes that I could meet people. I had an organization where I had mentors. I had groups that I kind of was automatically a part of. Now I had to really seek it out if I wanted to do those things. And that was really difficult for me because I'm not a change person. And it took me a while to feel really comfortable, with my anxiety of meeting new people in a new state. DC also has a lot of really political people, and I am nervous around those people because I have not felt like I am as knowledgeable talking about those subjects. So if they wanted to bring it up, I felt a little uncomfortable. Also, me being a Southerner and just the way I was raised, you don't talk about those things when you meet people, versus in DC, it's easily talked about when you first meet somebody, or it's just a way to kind of get to know other people because, it's literally the capital. It's like where everything's happening. That was very different. It was just a lot of transition. It took probably about 3 months for me to feel really more comfortable and at ease in DC, apart from my job.
And you kind of gave yourself a deadline too, right? Like if you didn't like living there, you were going to move back to North Carolina. I remember talking about that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I definitely had conversations with my family where I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This job is great, but I don't know if I can live here. CVS is there, are grocery stores. I've never been in a place where a CVS is like a full-blown grocery store. It was weird. And it just was a different atmosphere. So much more fast-paced. I said 6 months. If I can last 6 months, by then I'll have acclimated, and then I'll really know if I want to stay or not. And then at 6 months, I kind of was like, all right, well, I can stay 8 months. Okay, 8 months, all right, I'll just stay until I don't want to be here anymore.
I think you make a really good point of just in general when you're trying something new, especially I think Catherine and I were similar with this, that change excites us from the get-go. And I don't want to speak for you, Catherine, so if this is wrong, you can correct me. But for me, at least, change, I'm like, that sounds awesome. And then as soon as I'm in the middle of it, I'm like, this is terrifying and I'm not sure if I want to do it. So I think setting that like timeline for yourself of, okay, I'm going to, you know, evaluate it 6 months. I'm going to give myself enough time to like adjust and see if I like this and actually get acclimated. And then I really like also that you just kind of pushed it back, because if you haven't fully adjusted, if you feel like, you know, I love the job, but I'm not sure about the friends, like yet, I haven't developed the friends I want or the community I want, you can always push that timeline back a little.
Well, and the other thing for me is I was lucky in that, I mean, I have my big family that I can call and reach out to. You know, I have 7 siblings, so literally, if one doesn't answer, I can call somebody else.
You could call someone every day of the week if you needed to.
I really could. So for me, it really was nice in the sense that, you know, if I was having a really bad time, I could call a sibling, or I could reach out to somebody and be like, hi, you know, what's going on with you? I'm trying to get out of my head a little bit because I'm not feeling great today. Or, you know, mentally, it was definitely tough. I mean, I definitely would agree with you that I'm one of those people where I long for change, but I don't enjoy change. And a lot of times I also feel like I don't want to leave a place until I've given it everything I've got, because then I'll always wonder, was it a good decision to move? Did I really hate it that much? Or, you know, did I make the most out of this experience? And so I really decided to stay mostly because I wanted to like DC. I still feel like, I mean, we're in a pandemic now. It's a little different. I'm not in DC, but I mean, I wanted to experience the summer of DC where I wasn't anxious trying to make friends all the time, or, you know, really try and enjoy myself there. Because I feel like once I enjoy myself in a city and once I'm at that space where I feel super comfortable, that's actually when I know I want to leave, because I think that's how you continue to grow. And that's how you continue to push yourself and challenge yourself. So that was kind of how I knew to leave Raleigh, is because I felt so comfortable and like I felt so much like myself, and I had good friends. And even though I was working in a restaurant, I felt like the restaurant kind of became a little bit of a home. And, you know, I knew at that point it's time for me to mix it up.
It wasn't challenging you enough, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it wasn't challenging me anymore.
Yeah.
Not in the way I felt like I need to, at least at this stage in my life.
Yeah, in your early mid-20s, if you have the resources and you have the means to like challenge yourself and to make a change, I think that can be really important. At least for me, like I've also lived in North Carolina my whole life, so taking a risk and just seeing what else is out there. The world is massive, guys. So like even if it's just a move to a different city within your state or one state over, you know, just still a car drive away, like any change I think is a good thing that's going to encourage you to grow. And you can always change your mind on it too. Like Catherine said, she was going to give herself the chance to decide if she liked it.
Yeah, trust me, for those first 6 months, I mean, I was like, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna go back to North Carolina. I'm done. This is great, but check mark.
So earlier you were talking about like how you were kind of struggling to find your sense of community. How did you end up getting that or feeling closer to what you want?
So initially, I had a roommate that I was able to make friends with. She was much more comfortable with change and meeting people than I was. So I kind of honestly tagged along with her. Unfortunately, we weren't as compatible over the long run, friendship-wise, but she kind of helped me in the initial stages of being in DC. You know, it was nice to have somebody where, hey, what are you doing? Cool, can I come? Or something like that. But after that, after I got a little bit more centered, honestly, my work became a place that I really feel like I've been able to develop a community. My work really works hard to try and create that atmosphere of a family and supporting one another. And there were a good number of us young, you know, millennial in-betweeners who kind of were able to start in a similar time space. So I was able to kind of use that to get to know people. My work also has different organizations within our company that are kind of like clubs that you have in college where you meet up and they have events. And so you can go to those. So I literally signed up for everything. I joined a kickball league through this thing called DC Fray. where just to meet people, just to have something to do during the week. I think it's easiest to make friends when you're not thinking about making friends. And so I tried to fill up all of my time with different activities where it wasn't specifically set out just to meet people, because that's a lot of pressure on yourself and on the other person to try and like make good conversation, versus a shared experience is something you can talk about. You know, I would be at kickball and I'd be like, yeah, so what other good bars are there around here? You know, I'm just new here. I don't know a lot of places in this area. So then they'd give you recommendations and you can say, oh, great. Well, you know, would you want to join in sometime? You know, I might get a group of friends to go. And then they can politely say, yeah, sure. And you know that they're kind of lying, or they can be like, yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to. And you know that they're more interested in actually joining along. A lot of my time was spent doing that kind of stuff. And it was exhausting. I still have to take days where I have to remind myself, like, Catherine, you don't have to do stuff all the time to keep friends and to have friends here. You can take some time to yourself. You can slow down. You know, there's not an end date anymore where you have to have friends by this time or else you're going to leave. You know, you're trying harder to just be more in the moment and create those relationships with people, which is my favorite thing, at least, is really getting to know people. So that's kind of how I look at it, at least.
You're making great points. I mean, I still live in Raleigh right now at the moment, but I wanted to like expand my friend circle, because even if you live in the town where you went to school, people leave. Catherine moved to DC. Your friend circle still gets a little smaller as far as those people you can immediately see. So I joined a tennis league and I like met some people there. And one girl that I hit it off with really well, as Catherine mentioned, we had something to talk about. We had an activity to do. So we played tennis like 2 or 3 times. And then even though that wasn't really what we connected on, we continued to spend time together. And she actually introduced me to a group of really cool people as well. So I think a shared experience is definitely key for making new buddies.
At least in the beginning, if you're anxious about it.
Yeah, I feel like I would honestly like struggle more with doing both of the things that like you guys have done, just because I'm a little bit more introverted. Like I can go up to someone and not feel anxious at all and have a conversation with them, but whether or not I'm going to do anything about it afterwards, it's probably unlikely, just because of how I am. Like I spend a lot of time by myself outside of the pandemic, and I don't mind it, but I also just like I haven't been putting in as much effort outside of college to make friends, but I'm also going to put pressure on myself to move outside of the state after grad school. So we'll see how that goes.
Well, the thing is, I mean, you can challenge yourself in different ways. You know, you joined a photography meetup group and you've started doing more artistic things that you enjoy. You know, that's a different way of challenging yourself and being able to kind of create a community. When I was in Raleigh, I mean, everybody I knew had graduated because I stayed an extra year to finish out my 2 minors. And so I was still in school and I had no friends because everybody I had been with for 4 years left. So then I went abroad and I was able to meet you, Sally. And I joined kind of this group that did meetups and dance circles and drum circles just to kind of, I don't know, one, to get back to my roots in Asheville.
I was going to say, you're such a hippie. That sounds like Asheville.
Exactly. Well, I had never really participated in that stuff before. I wanted to know what that experience was like. And they were super welcoming and wonderful people. And so
Always.
I really just kind of took a different route to get to know people as well. You know, it's just, I don't know. One, I am an extrovert, so it's sometimes easier for me because I'm just a blabbermouth, and I'll just walk up to somebody and be like, "Wow, I really love your shoes. Where'd you get them?" or something. You know, I'll make like a shared conversation over something really quickly. But that doesn't always happen when I'm anxious or when I'm feeling uncomfortable. So I try really hard to practice those skills and get to know people through those shared experiences. Who I was in Raleigh is so different from who I am now because I learned so much about myself in DC and living in a place where my support system was gone. I mean, you have to learn kind of how to entertain yourself when everyone you know is busy, or, I mean, that's normal. But for me, I'm normally the kind of person who likes to make plans all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, I had to learn how to be able to spend time by myself and just, I mean, you don't have an option to hang out with somebody because you don't know anybody. It's different. It's like choosing. In Raleigh, I could choose to be alone because I wanted to be alone and I knew people and they were doing stuff, but I didn't have to go. Versus in DC, it wasn't a choice. And that was a different feeling for me, even though it was the same experience, you know, even though both times I was by myself and I was still, you know, staying at home. One of them I chose, one of them I didn't.
Yeah.
So that was a very difficult part for me moving to DC, and it took a lot of getting used to. Also, people, I mean, not everybody is super open, you know, everybody in different states. I mean, I'm Southern, I mean, ish, if you count Asheville as like Southern.
A hillbilly.
I mean, yeah, we're mountain people. That's what I like to say. But I mean, so I like to think that I'm a pretty friendly person and I like talking to people and doing stuff all the time. And just, I feel like I'm a pretty chill person. That's like a nice word to describe it. But DC people are not all like that. I mean, there's obviously different facets of people, but a large majority are kind of more high strung because those are the jobs in DC. Like those are the nonprofits that are run with 5 people who have to work all the time. Those are the people on the Hill who are busy all the time running around, you know, going to different conferences or different events. So it's a different atmosphere in the new city that I had to get used to for sure.
Yeah.
You do find your people in everywhere you go. I've been able to find people who have more values similar to me, but it definitely took a lot of sorting and finding people who just like to kind of sit and be with each other rather than, all right, I have an hour, I have to be somewhere else. Just kind of enjoy each other's company in that sense.
Catherine, we just want to say thank you so much for talking with us. We really appreciated catching up and hearing all of your tips and tricks for your move, and we're excited to see what you do next.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, everyone, for listening to Doing Everything. You can find us on any streaming platform, including YouTube.
Bye, guys.